Hello and welcome to the Pixel Scandal Nerdcast, episode 59. I'm Kurt.
Sort of. I'm Nightsun.
Orestes. How's that?
End of line.
End of line.
And tonight we're going to be discussing speedrunning. If you were here 10 seconds ago, you didn't see that. This is the first time we've done this. And yeah, we're just going to roll with it. Orestes, announcements, go.
Announcements go. New episode of the Paper Scandal Show, Tuesday, July 23rd, 6 p.m. Savage Worlds Adventure Edition, Sway GM Gidget, Showdown Supernatural Investigation Program. Speed running. Next Saturday, July 27th at 9 a.m., we're going to be doing a Paper Scandal side quest with Kimmy from Happy Jack's RPG podcast. She's going to be running Virgins and Vixens for us. It's a game that she created, posted on Twitch.io. Be a proper RPG collector and go buy it.
All right, as to what we played recently, Endo, how's ESO treating you?
Good. Got to champion level 160, which was the big milestone I've been working on this week when I've gotten an opportunity to play, which means I can now officially farm my in-game gear, so I've been working on getting my healing set and stuff like that, but I've been having a lot of fun.
Templar?
For my Templar, but I did make a Dragon Knight this morning, so I've got alt-itis. But no, I actually made him for a very specific reason, but yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm now officially geared enough to do veteran dungeons, but I haven't tried it yet, so
All right.
might be bad. I don't know.
Orestes, what have you been up to? How's the Final Fantasies?
Good. We did the Eden raid. Well, you were there.
Yeah, but I was giving you an introduction into your talking point.
Yeah, we did Eden. It was fun. It's
Looks
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, it is really good. All four of the fights were pretty interesting. Lots of mechanics, lots of poop to not stand in. Super fun as a healer. I can't speak to other roles.
My personal favorite, aside from the dance during the Jeep fight,
Oh yeah.
and for those of you who think it's a fantasy game, yes, I'll just leave it at that. There's a monster who turns into one of the raid bosses turns into a Jeep and tries to run you down.
Mm-hmm.
But no, my actual favorite mechanic is much like every other game. There are mechanics that you are forced to group on or forced to spread out, or one person runs away, so they drop the bomb somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's different is you are given a random timer for when that happens, and nobody knows what that timer is except for you until the last 5 seconds. And so you'll have group up mechanic. It's like everyone needs to group sometime in the next 40 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
While also running your bombs out of the raid.
Yeah. It's like everybody needs to stack on this one person, except for these three guys who need to evacuate immediately.
So it's a lot of
20 seconds.
okay, I've got a bomb, but I don't need to run it out for 20 seconds. Hopefully, I can sit here and take the sit in for the meteor. Oh no, I can't. Gotta run.
Yeah.
Definitely the benefits of doing that on Savage mode being in Discord.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A strong raid leader will be super useful for that.
Yeah. That is cool, though. That's a nice, interesting little twist to an old mechanic. I like that.
And then for some unknown reason, well, actually, the reason being that Newegg had a sale for Borderlands 2 and
Handsome
the
Jack.
pre-sequel. Yeah, the Handsome Jack bundle. I think it's still up if you wander over there. It's like $6 for everything,
Yeah.
all the DLCs.
That's a
90% off.
That's robbery.
Yeah. We all went and bought it and decided to install and play Borderlands 2 last night.
Mm-hmm.
Which was the interesting part, because Endo and I had already played through it. But we found a mod that allows you to bring in as many players as you want. And so we played 5-player last night.
Yeah. It was actually fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked very, very well. The only gripe was you lose your... Nobody shows up on the minimap anymore. And so it's kind of a pain to chase people down and follow people around and whatnot.
Yeah, no HUD, no map identification of your friends, and then we had a weird glitch with the slot machine, where if you got three sevens, it just glitched out the slot machines.
And just died.
But all in all, very small gripe. Night Sun had a really good point. We only had two slots, two vehicles with two seats, and there were 5 of us. And I was like, oh man, that's going to be a problem. But Night Sun was actually like, it'll only be a temporary problem because eventually you get the 3-seater cars. So I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's a temporary issue for 6 people.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, the more relevant issue with cars was they spawned with 10 hit points because of some bug.
Oh, yeah.
And so we drive the car out. The first time something would happen, the cars didn't matter because we were on foot the whole time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's good for just speed transportation, but to actually do something, like, I don't know how we're going to do the quests in the desert.
Oh, God.
That's going to be a problem.
No,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. I love that game. It's really good. It's been a long time since we played it, so it kind of felt good again.
Yeah.
Borderlands 3 coming out soon.
Fun with all the expansions. You got those 2 extra characters, so with the 5 of us, we didn't have any overlap.
Yeah, that was super fun. So you had all the characters. You got a little bit of all the specials and whatnot.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. I'm not feeling the Necromancer.
Gotta be honest. Not feeling the Gunzerker.
Well, let's start over then.
Wow.
Because I'm loving Siren. Siren's beast.
Oh, Siren's amazing.
She's godlike.
And I think Gunzerker gets good later. Is his thing. Like he needs all his talent points to.
Every single person I've played Borderlands 2 with is always. Matter of fact, everybody. Could you play Siren in the first one?
Yeah.
Yes, but it was a very different character.
Yeah.
Let's say, for some reason, everybody that I play Borderlands with, period, they always play Siren. It's Siren or nothing for them.
Siren is super, super strong.
Yeah.
But my problem with the Necromancer is you have no control over your pet, so it's just kind of push the button, fire and forget. He runs around and punches things. You can't unsummon him early when you're done the fight. You can't tell him, hey, this thing I want you to punch. So you just was like, oh, I guess it's off cooldown. I'll just push it.
That's true.
There's no interaction with it. It's literally just, oh, it's up. You push it. The end.
You guys all need to re-roll.
Sure.
Well, I've already got to like 70 something on 0, but I had a blast on 0.
Zero's amazing.
Yeah, that's what you played before, Andor. I remember that.
Yeah, I played Soldier in that game, and I loved Soldier because the turret was very interactive. It was you wanted to put it in special areas. You could unsummon it early to get some of your cooldown back.
Yep.
All right. So with that said, let's move into our spotlight, which is going to be speed running. So I guess the first question is, what is speed running?
It is I'm going to say community, a competitive community of gamers who enjoy trying to complete games or accomplish things in games, because it's not always about completing the game, but accomplish things in games as quickly as humanly possible. And the more specific aspect of that is, generally speaking, it's using whatever mechanics and advantages in a game that you can find, including hacks, cheating, exploits, things like that. I shouldn't say cheating, but finding exploits or game mechanics in the games that are unintended in order to speed the game up. But there are different types of speedrunning. There are, I guess I'll let you guys talk about that, but there are any percent runs, there are 100% runs. So there can be 50 different I will say types of speedrunning for the same game. So you may have speedrunners that compete in a 100% run of a game, meaning that they collect everything, do everything in the game, and complete it as quickly as possible by whatever means is available to them. Or an any percent run, meaning you do as little as humanly possible to complete the game by using whatever means possible to skip as much content as you can in order to just get to the end. But this has become, over the last, I don't want to even say recent years, because it's actually blown up in the last 10 to 15 years. Mm-hmm. But it's become an enormous community of competitive gamers doing these speed runs and trying to be the best in the world at their particular game and their particular type of run. That's the best I can explain it.
So Hender, why do people speed run? Like, what's the point?
Obviously, for certain games, it's going to be maybe slightly different. You know what the person's motive is for speedrunning, but I'd say a lot of it is the capacity to say that you're doing something that's no one else is doing, to be at the top of the list, to be the best at something, and most of all, just to challenge yourself, continually challenging yourself, is because you can always do just a little bit better, right? So it's a game inside of a game that allows it to have this extra life forever. I mean, right? So there's so many of these games that people speedrun, and these games are almost what's the word I'm looking for? Almost solely being played by speedrunners, because the games just don't.
That is very true.
It's one of the things is, like you mentioned, it being at the pinnacle, doing something better than anyone else. In most other fields, you like to know that you're the best at something. You might have the opportunity to compete 4 years for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Whereas here in this, you can compete and go back and forth with the world's best multiple times in a single day.
Yeah.
For sure.
And playing back to what Endo said earlier, there are so many subsets of even individual games that you can find a niche that you can compete in, that you can feel comfortable in.
Yep. I think there are two different kinds of speedrunners too. I think there are a lot of people behind the scenes that you don't see in these competitions that are scoring on the leaderboards, but these are people who like to find these exploits. They like to find these ways to shrink the time and discover interesting ways to slice off seconds of a particular, what they call them, segments of the run. So, like, if you're playing I'm going to simplify it, but if you're playing, like, Super Mario Brothers, the original NES game, finding out a way to make a jump and cut off a 0.3 seconds of a level could change the world record. That simple thing. Now, how difficult that jump is to accomplish and execute that jump in an otherwise perfect run to have those 0.3 seconds matter is where this becomes absolutely crazy. These people will run a game thousands of times trying to get the best possible segment of every segment to create their total time to be as minimal as possible. But you have all these people in the background who are maybe not as good of a speedrunner as the people making these world records, but they're constantly researching and developing and communicating as a community to try and find ways to shave these times down.
Yeah. And I would say you're looking at people who are willing to bash their face against a wall.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To make a single, to make us that single pixel perfect, whatever jump, to do that, or to just try something like 100,000 times over and over again. Like, I would say the majority of us gamers are probably cursing and smashing our keyboards
just to get through the game on normal mode.
Yeah. I mean, you come across a game with a jumping puzzle, right? And
sure.
I think Fallout 76 is early on. There was a jumping puzzle, and a lot of us were trying to. I think we spent maybe 10 minutes on it before we were just, just throwing out all these F-bombs and walking away. And those people that are spending a lot of time in the background love that shit, right? They just love being able to figure out a way to simplify and
get so good at something that
crunch
they
down.
can execute it perfectly 90% of the time.
Yeah, but that's a different mindset, though. Like if you're one of the people who is willing to sit there for hours and hours on end and just do the same thing repeatedly over and over and over again, that's different than somebody who's just like, you know, you got a new game, you're just kind of running around exploring, you come across a jumping puzzle, and then it's like, oh, I want to get this done. You're not in the mindset that like I'm gonna sit down and, you know, devote 15 hours to this until I nail it. You're in the mindset like I want to get this done now so I can go and keep exploring and doing.
I don't know. I seem to recall a certain warlock back in WoW looking up at Mount Hyjal and going, "I can climb that."
Yeah, but I was level 60. I was done. I was done.
Yeah, although you make a good point. So for those of us who are not, you know, we're just playing the game and experimenting in a game that's new to us, we're not going into that game with the mindset that we're going to bash our head against the same jumping puzzle for hours because we want to experience the next line of whatever it is that we're trying to get to, gear or content or whatever that may be. But I would venture to say, you know, these guys that are doing the 70 hours of whatever for a speed run to find the 3-second shave off of an entire run, they're not playing those games at all. You know, they're not gaming like we're gaming, you know. So yeah, I would say although the mindset is certainly different for
it's like being a professional athlete. Yeah, you enjoy it. Yeah, you're passionate about it. But let's be real here. It's work. It's a lot of work to be the best at something. It's an enormous amount of work, an enormous amount of commitment, dedication. Yeah, these speedrunners are not benching 700 pounds. They're not running a 10-second, you know, sprint or anything like that. But the amount of mental, like, acuity it takes to execute these things at the highest possible rate just requires an immense amount of skill, an immense amount of dedication and passion to just be able to play these games 1,000 times until you get to a degree at it where you can execute all these little things perfectly or as close to perfectly every single time as consistently as possible to get those best times. It's got to be insanely difficult. The mental game especially. Can you imagine having speedrunning a game, let's just say hypothetically, and somewhere it's a 2-hour game, and then like in the last 20 minutes you have 3 aspects of that game that are extremely difficult to execute, and let's just say you have a 60% shot at getting each of them correct. That's an hour and 40 minutes getting to a piece where now you've got to you've done a perfect run, everything, you've done personal best across the board for each segment up to this point. Now you have to perfectly execute these 3 different mechanics at a 60% success rate back to back to get a world record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To have a chance.
To have a chance at a personal best. Yeah. Like the mental game there is insane. But it's the same thing as an athlete. A lot of course, athletes require physical perfection, but there's a huge mental aspect of it as well. And I think it's very similar in that regard. I know people are probably going to listen to this and be like, no, it's not the same. It is the same. Any competitive anything has a pretty large degree of mental involved in it. And I think speedrunning, it's just less physical and more mental, whereas sports are more physical, less mental. But they're equivalently important.
Yeah, Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead and make your point.
I was just going to say, if you ever wondered if you wanted to speedrun, and I think Endo might back me up on this, considering his stick fighting acuity. Pick up Mortal Kombat, okay? Pick up Mortal Kombat 10 or pick up Mortal Kombat 11, and just try to go for a 36% combo, and then try to land that 4 times in a row, and then let me know how your hands feel, and you know, then you can probably find out real fast if you're someone that's willing to spend the time that it takes to
just
even
sit there and attempt something over and over and over again for hours until you can execute it perfectly 100% of the time.
I'd just like to point out
Exactly.
that your example is impossible because after the third 36% combo, your opponent's dead.
That's a good point.
Okay,
So,
go into the testing.
so I, you make a good point that a lot of people, I'd argue probably most, are not suited for this. But
I'm
what's
definitely
interesting-
not.
Yeah, what's interesting is the community that follows this is largely based around people who barely, if at all, participate. There are huge droves of people who watch these streamers, watch these the GDQ and whatnot. Games done quick.
Yep.
Orestes, why do people care?
I don't know. Why do people care about football?
I was gonna say, why are you
it's-
asking the guy that doesn't care?
No, it's.
But he does watch.
Yeah, we all watch it.
Yeah, I watch. AGDQ, SGDQ, all of them. Even
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of, but they do like European ones too now. And it's just being part of the community. It's something that these people are passionate about that you're also passionate about, but they're at like just a higher level. It's just like, if you played sports in high school, but that was it. It's like, yeah, I have experience. I used to play football in high school. I like watching football because these guys are just really good at a thing I really like to do.
Yeah. Do I care about watching someone play through Final Fantasy VII? Like, start to finish? No. I'm probably not going to watch that. I've beat that game myself. I know the story.
Yeah.
Do I want to watch someone that is literally playing this game and has every single step in the game, and I'm watching him and counting the steps he's taking because he knows if I take 6 steps and then go north and then south and then go left again, I'm not going to get an account? Because we've literally mapped out where to step for every step in an RPG. That is insane!
That is why, personally, I love watching any percent runs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
even though I've watched it 100 times already, if it pops up in my YouTube recommended Cosmo Writes Legend of Zelda, I will watch it start to finish.
That brings up a really good thing. Yeah, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, I would say, is probably the most prolific speedrunning game. I think most people would say it's probably the most popular one or the most well-known. And like Orestes was saying, there was a... Go ahead.
I think Cosmos is what put speedrunning really on the map.
It probably blew it up, yeah.
That one run is just ridiculous.
So there's hundreds of people, probably thousands of people who are at least casually to seriously speedrunning this game, Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda. It's a Nintendo 64 game. It's been beat to death. They have found so many oddball glitches, ways to rewrite code in the game in order to cheat and get items you're not meant to get it out of order. And go check it out on YouTube. It's incredible. Even just the science behind it blows my mind. They've been doing this for years and years and years. I literally just watched a video a couple weeks ago that they just found another way to shave off time on that game. How is that even possible at this point? Like... People are still finding creative ways to break that game. And I think that's really an interesting thing about speedrunning is it revitalizes games that you otherwise would have never known about or cared about, or it just breathes life back into them. Like something like you've never cared about. I hated Legend of Zelda 2 for Nintendo. Yeah, I totally watched a speedrun of it a few weeks ago. I didn't care about the game. I just wanted to see, how do you guys break this? And it's just fun.
Yeah. If they do, like if it's like an SGDQ, they throw all their stuff up on YouTube after they stream it.
Mm-hmm.
I watch the streams if I can. Most of the time I'm at work when they're going on, but when the VODs come up on YouTube, anything that's like an old game that I've already played, like Final Fantasy VI 100% run, 12 hours long. It's like I'm not gonna watch that. For one, I don't want to spend 12 hours watching a game that I've played and beat myself already. But if they were like, hey, Final Fantasy 9 any percent, and it's like an hour and a half long, it's like,
2.5 hours. You're like, what?
I'll sit and watch that. It's like I didn't even like that game, but I'll sit and watch somebody play it for an hour and a half and figure out what they did to trick it into not, being that.
Yeah.
And I think the fun, especially when you're watching in on a streamer, is that any moment, any run could literally be world changing, like in this communities where this might be the record that sticks, or it might stick for months or years.
It's really fun to see the chat reactions to these streamers when they hit those world records. And a lot of those viewers have been watching these people stream this game for probably months to a year, and then they finally get that world record. It's pretty incredible. You feel that energy over the internet a little bit.
I think we would be doing a major disservice if we didn't talk about or bring up during a conversation of speedrunning the man that decided to try to beat Mike Tyson's Punch-Out
blindfolded. Yeah.
He did beat it blindfolded, didn't he? Yeah.
No, he didn't get through. I don't think he got through Tyson, did he? But he got all the way to Tyson, I think. It started with a Z. I can't remember his name.
Well, there's a little history of it, and I mean, now there's a few people that are doing it, but
yeah, the Tyson was eventually beat blindfold.
Really?
Yeah. It was a guy. Oh man, I watched this video.
So nuts.
There is actually a video that Summoning Salt does. Like, if you are the slightest bit interested in the history of speedrunning on any game, he has a long-standing series going on about 2 years where he will go in and talk about all the tech that went into a particular game and who was the world record and the fight to the top kind of thing.
The Super Mario 64 one is my favorite. Sorry, I just say that.
And he did one on the blindfolded Tyson, and I want to say there was a guy who literally just sat there and just did Tyson. That's all he did. Just Tyson, just Tyson, just Tyson. Hundreds, thousands of runs, and finally got it. There was some audio cue that they were able to get.
Yeah, that's what I thought was the problem, because I didn't think Tyson had any real, like, he was so random that I didn't know how you would even do that.
Right.
There was something like 1 out of 6 fights had this particular audio cue or something like that. And
that's bananas.
Based on that, you could figure out the frames that everything would go forward, and go from there.
Have you guys seen the? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, if I'm not mistaken, there was a random guy, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I want to say he's like from India. He was doing Tyson blindfold Tyson runs in his shop, recording himself on like his cell phone.
Yeah, and I don't know if he was Indian. It was in India or whatnot, but yeah, that's literally what it was. It was just some random guy nobody had ever heard of before who was just doing them
who had been doing this all along.
Yeah, who looks like he was doing it at work. He was
he was at work.
Like at a convenience store or something like that. Yeah, he's just streaming Mike Tyson's Punch-Out Tyson runs all day, every day for something like 6 months, and then he got
nuts.
And so what's very throwback to the community. What's awesome about this is there's another man who decided to bring this idea that I'm sure it was an original idea of his. Had no idea that some guy in somewhere else was running this in his convenience store or whatever. Brought this to a GDQ whatchamacallit, what is this, like 4 years ago or something? And lo and behold, this guy must have seen this or whatever and had been working on trying to figure out the way to beat Tyson. And obviously his entire thing was to release this to the community saying, guys, I've been doing this. I found the trick. So it's pretty awesome.
And now the other competitive Mike Tyson blindfold players now have that tech. They can watch that video and download it, and now they can implement it into their runs and maybe do the full run at the best world time.
Which I believe it has been done now. Sure.
But that's really how it works, though. One person finds a thing, shows it in their stream, or posts it on YouTube, or there's a subreddit called Speedrun, which, we're not speedrunners. We like what the community does. We think it's very interesting. We enjoy it. We find it's entertaining. But one person finds this thing, they release it to the public, and now everyone is implementing into their runs and figuring it out, and then it's just like these building blocks until you just kind of like find the perfect run. And that's like what Handor's saying. This one person found the tech for Tyson, so now everyone else can kind of figure it out and try and do the run and get through the whole thing.
I think what's super fun, and I posted the video in chat there if anyone wants to go. It's 40 minutes long, but it is so worth the watch. One of the big people moving forward, the blindfolded Tyson, was stuck in his apartment when New York was frozen over a couple of years ago. And it was just, he couldn't go outside, couldn't do anything. So he's like, well, I'm just going to sit here and do blindfolded Tyson in my apartment and record it for something like 3 or 4 weeks. And so he came up with a lot of the tech for the fights going.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I wanted to touch on earlier when we were talking about when we first started talking about the topic, and they're saying it was like a big competitive community. There's a lot of competition, but there's also a lot of cooperation.
Oh, hands down, yeah.
Part of what I like. Like, people will just focus on one little part of a level, and once they get that down and unlock that, they'll, everybody shares it. They're like, hey, this is what you can do to optimize this one turn to get onto this bridge 0.1 seconds quicker in GoldenEye.
Yeah.
And not to mention, the runners are always incredibly good about giving credit for this tech.
They are.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. Yep. They give shout outs to people who
that's
find
why I
things.
like the community. Like, me, I hate PvP, but like the cooperative part of it, where it's like, hey guys, there was just not too long ago on GoldenEye 007, there was a dude who set a new world record for one of the levels. I think it was a dam or something. And they were like, who the hell is this guy? How did he do it? And he released a video, and people were like, that's got to be fake. And then come to find out, if you bounce a grenade off of a ceiling at a specific angle, it will go over into the next room and kill the boss. So you don't have to deal with it. And he was like, this is how I did it. People were like, holy shit, it's legit. Now that's like the new thing.
I watched a few speedrunners go back and like actually stream this video of the new tech and go, okay, what the hell? Now I gotta try doing that. So they actually show the video and then like just switch back over to their game, and then they just start throwing grenade. Like, they run to the point, throw the grenade, save, shit, run to the point.
What angle do I have to hit this? Where do I have to stand precisely to get it to bounce this exact way?
And this is stuff where if the person who discovered it doesn't share it, some of it's going to be near impossible to replicate, because the timings on everything are like so specific.
Yeah, it's frame perfect.
So I think now is a good time to bring up one of the things that's driven a lot of the speedrunning community, or this theory crafting, which is Taz, tool assisted. I don't know. Yeah, tool assisted speedrunning.
Tool assisted speedrun.
Yeah.
Dude, Tazbot is my favorite segment in GDQ every year.
And for those not initiated, Taz is basically computer generated input to play a game. So rather than you press A to jump, the computer's programmed to press A to jump. And you can program in, a set of movements to play them through the level, but they can do things perfectly.
Yep.
They could, faster than any human input, faster than a controller can input.
With millisecond timing.
Yeah,
well,
and so they can try the craziest stuff to see if I jump at this exact moment and press up, down, left, and right all at the same time, somehow I've warped through this wall and come out the other side and shave off 10 seconds off my run.
Yeah, and it's an input a human being cannot do. And then you have the Tazbot can segment that out and execute those perfect precision inputs throughout the entire game, completely destroying them.
But over time, people can find ways to replicate that with human inputs. Knowing what they need to do is enough to go, okay, let's see if I can do it.
Yeah, trick the game into thinking that you're pressing buttons that you're not pressing.
Yeah. Super Mario World, I think, is probably the most interesting Taz recording, because they have ways of inputting certain things and doing certain things in an order that rewrites memory to the cartridge. and allows you to basically program the game to do what you want, like play the
Flappy
ending.
Bird.
Yeah, like Flappy Bird or
Oh man,
rewrite
the best
text.
one I've ever seen was, I think it was Pokemon Red or Blue, one of the first gen Pokemon games. They took the Pokemon cart, they stuck it into a Game Boy Color, and then they stuck that game to the Game Boy, the Game Boy Color that lets you play Game Boy games on like Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then they stuck that into like a Game Genie, and then they stuck that into a something else, probably a Super
You're building
Nintendo.
a monster that's
Yeah,
10
but they
feet
had
tall.
like 4 different cartridges plugged into each other, and then they had a Rob the Robot holding the controller, and they started like doing like arbitrary script execution in Pokemon Red that was going through like all this different shit, and they got Twitch chat to show up on screen.
In the game.
Like
What?
they reprogrammed Pokemon Red to show Twitch chat while in the middle of a stream.
I think that was at an ADGQ, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Everyone's like, what
It was
just happened?
ridiculous. They're like, wait a minute. So for starters, let's talk about how you got a Super Nintendo on the internet, because that's.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just do the weirdest stuff. But yeah, putting Flappy Bird on Super Mario World. But people have been able to replicate that. Like, there's people who are able to do that now just with a controller themselves by hand. It's on the first level of Super Mario World. And I thought about attempting it myself for a little bit, because it doesn't take that long to get to that phase. It's only like 30 seconds of just jumping at the right spot and hitting the right enemies with Yoshi and doing a couple of other things. And then you can make Super Mario World flip out.
Well, yeah, the problem, the point from start game to you are entering data into memory is super fast.
Yeah.
It's the data into memory that is an hour of jumping at the right pixel.
Yeah.
And if you screw up, well, then good.
There are players that do it by hand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a video. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't necessarily need to program Flappy Bird into Super Mario World. I just want to get to the point where my game crashes. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say one other thing. I think another thing that kind of pushes competition, and maybe this was not the original intent, but I think a lot of people really want to get to the level of their game that they get to go onto these competition stages like SDGQ or ADGQ and all these different competitions. Or they're not really competitions, but it gives them a platform to kind of show off their game. And
It's a skill showcase.
Yeah, it's a skill showcase.
Yeah.
And they get to be a part of something that does a lot of good. They raise a ton of money for charity. So I think that's another thing. They get to do something, a hobby that they're really passionate about and that they're really talented at. They get so good at it that they get to perform at this level of the game where they do these competition or these showcases, and then they get to also be a part of contributing to the community so that they can raise this money for cancer and Doctors Without Borders and all these other charities that they're a part of, and that's really cool too.
And not to mention,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, just a tiny add-on to what Endo's saying is, not to mention having the chance of hanging out with so many other speedrunners,
Sure.
and potentially meeting a lot of your idols or your inspirations for doing what you're.
And people who are running your game too, that you've been like Arrest has said, that you've been cooperating with online. You know, they live in Belgium, you're in California, but you all come to this this thing to kind of like, hey, we're running our game. I want you to come with me, since we've been working together, and you'll sit on this couch and help commentate this game that we've worked together to create this pathing for, this route for. And it's kind of like a team effort. It's you. It's not just you. It's you and everyone else who speedruns this game who's contributing to this, making this run possible. You just happen to be the one sitting there holding the controller, but everyone's pretty clear about it's a community that makes this happen. It takes a village, as they say, to make a run happen. It's not just one individual. It's never just one person that figures out the best possible routes and how to execute all this stuff. It's always a large group of people contributing to each other to make that a reality.
Yeah, it's actually kind of amazing how, for something that is this competitive, like on when you get down to the brass tacks of it, that doesn't for the most part is not very toxic as you would expect from a lot of other very competitive communities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most toxicity that you'll see in speedrunning is when you find, unfortunately, the people that are breaking the rules, as it were.
Cheating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Every toxic thing I've seen in regards to speedrunning has been people who cheat, get caught, and then retaliate against people who discovered they were cheating. Which is weird. There was a really, really bad one recently with some Yu-Gi-Oh game, some Yu-Gi-Oh card game where someone got caught cheating and then had all of his Twitch viewers attack the world record holder streamer and got his channel shut down and all this other stuff. It's on YouTube. But most part, we don't see that kind of stuff.
Now, you might ask, though, how do you cheat in a game, in a system in which you're intended to break as many rules as possible to go as fast as possible?
Yep.
I can answer that.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so what a lot of these guys are doing is people are trusting that these runs that they're submitting to, who is it that they submit the runs to?
It's mostly public now, but people used to use something Galaxy. Yeah. Twin Galaxies was the most common one.
Now.
Yeah.
So what you do is and that's the thing is you're submitting a video, and just like Endo had mentioned earlier, things are broke down into segments, and people, unfortunately, some toxic people decided that instead of just getting the perfect clip at the end that I have to land 3 times that I only have a 60% chance of landing, they figured out if I do this segment and do that perfectly, and then do this segment and then do that perfectly, all I have to do is take 7 runs, clip each perfect run, and then edit that video down to
stitch them together,
and
stitch them together, and then submit it.
And you'll find there's videos. Just to give you an example, there's videos that people will put together of someone's attempts, their 100, 1,000 attempts that they put in for something, and they'll overlay every single attempt, and you'll see there's frames of differences between attempts. So many of these are so close that it's really easy to clip these together and go, no, that was a concurrent run, start to finish. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And even worse than that is people who just use an emulator and just save state to create that.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, though, with technology being what it is and how competitive these actual speedrunners are, I got to tell you, you'll get caught. They know these games inside and out. They know these games frame by frame. It is almost impossible to stitch together a segmented run where these people will not find you out. It is not worth it. They are hardcore, man. They know their shit.
Yeah. It's crazy to watch. There's videos out there where some of these guys that don't necessarily run the speed runs to the degree that some of the speedrunners are, but they certainly have a massive amount of passion for it and know the game pretty well. Maybe because they are someone that supplies tech to speedrunners and so on and so forth. And it's fascinating to listen to them explain how they were able to decipher that a segment was stitched together. And you're got your nose pressed against the screen trying to figure out where in the world the frame that they're talking about is.
Yeah, we know that you modified the game code, because if you do X, Y, and Z with A, B, and C at time 10, 11, and 12, we know that the game's behavior is G. And you got Z.
Yeah.
So we know that you did something to the game files, right? Or, it's things like that. Like, they just know the inner workings. It's not just about knowing the games. It's knowing about how the game, the actual programming of the game, interprets these things and reacts to them. That's how detailed these speedrunners are aware.
These are people who know that if they hit the start button on the start screen at exactly 7.32 seconds, you're going to get a specific seed and cause these enemies to spawn at this position on the screen.
Yep. Now think of all the dedication that goes to figuring something like that out. And then think that those people who are dedicated themselves to that kind of level of detail are going to play nicely with you cheating? No, man. It's not going to go well for you, bro. It's not going to go well for you at all.
Community that actively encourages each other to do the best. Yeah, they do not take kindly to cheaters.
Nor should they.
Yeah. Which is why when that dude came out of nowhere with the bounce the grenade off the wall in GoldenEye, it took about a week and a half for people to accept that was legit, and they were just like, no, it's not real.
It's good.
He cheated somehow. How did he cheat?
Good to be apprehensive about things like that until someone can replicate it, and then But here's the thing, man. If you're a person that discovers something like that, and they're able to replicate it, to that community, you're a fucking hero.
Yeah.
You're a hero. You know, that's the kind of stuff that the community loves. They love people discovering stuff like that. So, you'll go down.
I remember seeing just another example of somebody that got caught. Was a guy who held the record for a very long time. I want to say like 4 years or something. This guy continued to hold the record and then break his own record or whatever. And I'm talking about, I think the original. GTA 3 maybe, and somehow people found out, or they realized that he was speeding up the game by breaking the game in some way, and that wasn't allowed in the speedrunning community. And people discovered that if you peel out in a car, for some reason, the smoke is a slightly different hint of gray than if you're doing it at normal speed. And it was like, wait, what? Okay. So, and that's
the smoking gun, as they say.
Yeah.
It's the tailpipe smoke. It's that simple. Yeah, people. Yeah. That'll tip them off.
But what's funny is this kind of in-depth analysis of every frame, of every level, of every pixel in that level. That rabbit hole exists for every single one of these games.
Yeah.
And if you are interested in going down that rabbit hole, you would be surprised how deep it gets.
And there's a whole community that'll help you go down it with you.
It's so weird because with something like speedrunning, you could be like, you know what? I bet that if I wanted to set a world record, I could play this totally random game that I remember playing on the Atari 2600 when I was 3 years old that probably nobody else in the world even knows about. I guarantee there's speedruns for it.
Probably.
Yeah.
And there are people with world records on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a game that exists where you can just walk in and say, hey, as long as I beat it, it's a world record, right? Nope.
Yeah. This community is huge now.
Yeah. But there is the new trend that I've seen recently with the crossover games. What was it? The Legend of Zelda.
That was absolutely incredible.
The randomizers?
The randomizers. I love randomizers because every time you beat it, it's a world record.
Well, the fun thing about randomizers is you're giving a community that has already perfected or 99.999 a game. They know the ins and out of every frame, every pixel. They know they're run 10 minutes out from where they are right now. They've already got it planned.
Yeah.
And you go, well, let's shake it up. Let's test your knowledge of how to do everything perfectly by rotating all the items in a random way that you don't know where things are going to be. So you have to try to use all these little tricks and exploits and whatnot to get somewhere without that item that you needed to get there.
Yeah.
And then they take it one step further, which is what Orestes was mentioning, which is they fused Super Metroid and Link to the Past.
Yep.
And you could go from one game to the other, and all the items from both games were randomly distributed amongst each game. So to get the hook shot, you needed to get that from Norfair.
Mm-hmm.
To get Morph Ball, well, that was in the where the Master Sword should have been.
Maybe.
And
Just
maybe, yeah. Your seed
Could
will
be.
be completely
boggles
different.
the mind.
And so you have, they literally made it where they had two guys sitting there playing for an hour and a half, not competing. They were literally helping each other because and it was still incredibly entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just so happens that those two games have memory allocations that allow them to coexist to each other in the same ROM. Like, it's just a perfect marriage of randomness that was allowed. I was listening to someone talk about that like afterwards, and I was like, what are the odds of that?
Yeah, and this is a community that knows the ins and outs of these games so well that they're like, you know what? I bet these two could fit on the same disc, on the same card, in the same space. These two games could exist with and work with each other well enough that you could do something ridiculous like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, by all means, go ahead and try to cheat and get a world record.
Yeah, we love those gotcha YouTube videos, so keep them coming.
Yep.
Well, I think we've kind of discussed this. Anyone have any last thoughts?
Well, I was just going to mention quickly that I've given some serious thought to trying to speedrun Terraria. I've thought about it for a few months now, and I have been toying with going into single player, seeing how fast I could get to certain points where other people are getting to. See if I can get to that same first set, right? Through the first segment to the first, however they segment the timer.
Well, the big thing about those, like most of those speed runs done of survival games or like survival crafting games, they're done on particular seeds.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you would need to find a seed that most people the people are usually running, use that and do that, because if you are never going to get a good time if the first bit of iron takes you an extra 10 minutes to find.
Right.
But I don't know. There are people who do random seeds on Minecraft runs to kill Elder Dragon. And like they always try and start on a Savannah seed. Like that's kind of the thing. They stop and start until they get a Savannah seed because that's the best to get everything you need. But it's randomized.
I haven't seen any of those. So
yeah, there's one that got ran at the last ADGQ. It's pretty interesting to watch. They cheat. They do some interesting mechanics with beds while they're fighting Elder Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
They use the beds to explode the Elder Dragon.
Yeah,
It's
you try to
really
sleep in it right when the dragon's about to eat you, and then
It's
you blow up in his
super
face.
bizarre, man. Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun to watch. Yeah.
very cool. Anyone else?
Nope.
No.
All right.
I think we got a world record on Pixel Scandal episode 59.
Yeah.
I will just say we are by no means speedrunners. We're just casual fans of the community. There are absolutely resources online that you guys can check out, like the speedrun subreddit, the speed demos, tons of YouTube videos. Check out SDGQ, ADGQ. They have VODs up on the web where you can check out speedrunnings of your favorite games. I definitely would recommend that you do so. There are tons of Twitch streamers out there that are streaming speedruns of your favorite games right now.
Yeah.
Go support them. Check them out. Just get involved and just
And
be aware of this.
Yeah, be aware. But if you liked some of the deep dive into the history of some of this, as we mentioned, check out Summoning Salt's YouTube channel. He puts out about a video a month, and they are all incredible, and they all deal very deeply into how the records were made and whatnot. So
Yeah.
We'll have to put a thing in the show notes for
yeah.
a couple of these.
All right. With that, I'm not gonna ask any of you guys to try to figure this out, so I will let people know where they can find us on the interwebs.
Okay, good.
First of which is our website, pixelscandal.com. You can check our most recent posts and whatnot. If you'd like to email the show, you can contact us at pixelscandal@gmail.com. We are at Pixel Scandal for Twitter and Instagram. And you can find podcasts of all of our shows on Spotify, iTunes, or anything else that you could find podcasts on, probably. And if you're interested in supporting the show, you can subscribe to our Twitch channel right there on top of the screen. Just subscribe. Or you can wander over to our Patreon, Pixel Scandal, and sub there for a handful of different benefits, behind the scenes, extra content, etc. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, and have a good afternoon.
Yeah.
Later, everybody.
Well,